Hello, dear readers. Welcome to Novel Spotlight. This is an audiobook of the novel The Midnight Library by Matt Haig.
Part 13, Chapter 19, Fire. She gasped. The sensation was sudden, the noise and the water. She had her mouth open and she choked, the tang and the sting of salt water. She tried to touch her feet on the bottom of the pool, but she was out of her depth, so she quickly slipped into breaststroke mode. A swimming pool, but a saltwater one, outdoor beside the ocean, carved seemingly out of the rock that jutted out of the coastline. She could see the actual ocean just beyond. There was sunshine overhead. The water was cool, but given the heat of the air above her, the cool was welcome. Once upon a time, she had been the best 14 years old female swimmer in Bedfordshire. She had won 2 races in her age category at the National Junior Swimming Championship: freestyle 400 meters, freestyle 200 meters. Her dad has driven her every day to the local pool, sometimes before school as well as after. But then, while her brother rocked out on his guitar to Nirvana, she traded length for scales and taught herself how to play not just Chopin but classics like Let It Be and Rainy Days and Mondays. She also began, before the labyrinth were even a figment of her brother's imagination, to compose her own music. But she hadn't really gone off swimming, just the pressure around it. She reached the side of the pool, stopped, and looked around. She could see a beach at a lower level in a distance, curving around in a semicircle to welcome the sea lapping on its sand. Beyond the beach, inland, a stretch of grass, a park, complete with palm trees and distant dog walkers. Beyond that, houses and low-rise apartment blocks and traffic sliding on a road. She had seen pictures of Bayron Bay, and it didn't look quite like this. This place, wherever it was, seems a little more built up, still surfish but also urban. Turning her attention back to the pool, she noticed a man smile at her as he adjusted his goggles. Would she welcome this smile in this life? Having no idea, she offered the smallest of polite smiles in return. She felt like a tourist with an unfamiliar currency, not knowing how much to tip. Then, an elderly woman in a swimming cap smiled at her as she glided through the water towards her. "Morning, Nora," she said, not breaking her stroke. It was a greeting that suggested Nora was a regular here. "Morning," Nora said. She stared out at the ocean to avoid any awkward chatting. A flock of morning servers, peck-sized, swam on their boats to greet large sapphire blue waves. This was a promising start to her new Australian life. She stared at her watch. It was a bright orange, cheap-looking Casio. A happy-looking watch suggestive, she hoped, of a happy-feeling life. It was just after 9 a.m. here. Next to her watch was a plastic wristband with a key on it. So, this was her morning ritual here, in an outdoor swimming pool beside the beach. She wondered if she were here alone. She scanned the pool hopefully for any sign of Izzy, but none was there. She swam some more. The thing she had once loved about swimming was the disappearing. In the water, her focus had been so pure that she thought of nothing else. Any school or home worries vanish. The art of swimming, she supposed, like any art, was about purity. The more focused you were on an activity, the less focused you were on everything else. You kind of stopped being you and become the thing you were doing. But it was hard to stay focused when Nora noticed her arms and chest ached. She sensed it has been a long swim and was probably time to get out of the pool. She saw a sign, Bronte Beach Swimming Pool. She vaguely remembered Dan, who had been to Australia in his gap year, talking about this place, and the name had stuck. Bronte Beach. Because it was easy to remember Jane Eyre on a surfboard. But here was confirmation of her doubt. Bronte Beach was in Sydney, but it was most definitely wasn't part of Byron Bay. So that means one of the two things. Either Izzy in this life wasn't in Byron Bay, or Nora wasn't with Izzy. She noticed she was tanned a mild caramel all over. Of course, the trouble was she didn't know where her clothes were. But then she remembered the plastic wristband with the key on it. 57. Her locker was 57. So she found the changing room and opened the square locker and saw that her taste in clothes as well as watches was more colorful in this life. She had a t-shirt with a pineapple print on it, a whole cornucopia of pineapples, and pink-purple denim short, and slip-on check pumps. What am I? She wondered. A children's TV presenter? Sunblock, hibiscus-tinted lip balm. No other makeup as such. As she pulled on her t-shirt, she noticed a couple of marks on her arm, scar lines. She wondered momentarily if it has been self-inflicted. There was also a tattoo just below her shoulder, a phoenix and flame. It was a terrible tattoo. In this life, she clearly had no taste. But since when did taste have to do anything with happiness? She dressed and pulled out a phone from her short pockets. This was an older model than in her married and living in a pub life. She left the changing rooms and walked along a beachside path. It was a warm day. Maybe life was automatically better when the sun shone so confidently in April. Everything seemed more vivid, more colorful and alive than it had done in England. She saw a parrot, a rainbow lorikeet, perched on the top of a bench being photographed by a couple of tourists. A surfy-looking cyclist passed by holding an orange smoothie, smiling and literally saying, G-Day. This was most definitely not Bedford. Nora noticed something was happening to her face. Could she be, smiling? And naturally, not just because someone expected her to. Then she noted a piece of graffiti on a low wall which said, The world is on fire, and another that said, One earth equals one chance, and her smile faded. After all, a different life didn't mean a different planet. She had no idea where she lived or what she did or where she was meant to be heading after the swimming pool. But there was something quite freeing about that. To be existing without any expectation, even her own. As she walked, she googled her own name and added Sydney to see if it brought up anything. Before she scanned the results, she glanced up and noticed a man walking on the path towards her, smiling. A short, tan man with kind eyes and long thinning hair in a loose ponytail with a shirt that wasn't buttoned correctly. Hey Nora, hey, she said, trying not to sound confused. What time you start today? How could she answer that? Oh, crap, I have totally forgotten. He laughed, a little laughter of recognition, as if her forgetting was quite in character. I saw it on the roster. I think it might be 11. 11 a.m.? Kind Eyes laughed. What have you been smoking? I want some. Ha, nothing, she said stiffly. I have not been smoking anything. I just skipped breakfast. Well, see you this Arvo. Yes, at the place. Where is it again? He laughed, frowningly, and kept walking. Maybe she worked on a whale sightseeing cruise that operated out of Sydney. Maybe Izzy did too. Nora had no idea where she or they lived, and nothing was coming up on Google.
For the next part, stay tuned to Novel Spotlight. And please like, share, and subscribe.